In this video tutorial, we're going to cover the pen tool. The pen tool is a member of the creative tools in the group of the toolbox. The pen tool is located right under the line tool. The shortcut for the pen tool is the P key on the keyboard. So you can do that, or you can select using the mouse. If you look closely, on the bottom right hand corner of the icon is a black triangle. Remember, what that means is there are more tools under the pen icon. So if you hold down the pen icon with the mouse, a new menu pops up. These three other tools, you have the original pen tool, you have the original pen tool, the add anchor point tool, delete anchor point tool, and convert direction point tool. All of these tools are related to the pen tool. So let's stay with the pen tool. The pen tool is very similar to the line tool. You're going to be creating lines with the pen tool, but unlike the line tool, you do not click and drag with the pen tool. Think of the pen tool as connecting the dots. So what I want you to first do is click with the pen tool once. You've created an anchor point. Now you can click anywhere else on the artboard and you're going to create a second anchor point. What the pen tool automatically does is connect a line between the two anchor points you have made. If you look very closely, there are actually three anchor points, one on the left side, one in the middle, and one on the right. If we zoom in, you can see the anchor point on the left and in the middle are hollow, which means they are not selected, while the anchor point on the right side is filled in, which means it is selected. So let's zoom back out. Now if we click again with the pen tool, you'll notice that the original line, the anchor point that was filled in, will now create a second line to where you clicked. So you can continue to do this, but if you notice, if you keep clicking, there's going to be lines that keep adding around. There are two ways to deselect the pen tool. The first way is to go back to the original anchor point. When you do that, you will notice that the icon of the mouse, the cursor, now has a 0 or a circle next to it, which means close off the lines and create an object. Once you do that, your lines become an object, and you can now create new lines without having to deselect the anchor point tool. Now, once you create a second line like this, the other way to deselect the pen tool is to go over to the selection tool, and you can either click on the selection tool or you can hit the shortcut key V. Now let's go back to the pen tool. I'm just going to hit the letter P, the shortcut. Now that is all the similarities between the line tool and the pen tool, just creating the line. The pen tool is much more complex. What you can do with the pen tool is you can actually bend lines. So let's scroll down a little bit. So we're going to do the same thing. Click once. Now instead of clicking and releasing the mouse, you're just going to click and hold down the mouse. Once you do that, you're going to slowly drag the mouse down. And once you do that, you will see two lines. The first line is the original line, however there is a slight arc in it. The second line is a straight line with the center anchor point where the original anchor point is on the right side. So when you drag the line, the straight line, you'll see that the actual arc becomes bigger and smaller. You can actually pivot around that central anchor point as well. It looks a little confusing at first, but just remember that the arc is the only line that you'll actually see. So you can stretch it like this. Once you release the mouse, you'll notice the cursor turns back to the pen. And if I click back somewhere else on the artboard, the line will automatically bend and match the first arc. Once I hit the selection tool to deselect the pen tool, you'll notice that the straight lines are gone, and now you have a curved line. Let's go back to the pen tool. This time we're going to mouse over and hold down and go to the add anchor point tool. Let's go to our original object. Let's go to the object we made. We'll zoom in. So the add anchor point tool, what this does is you're able to add anchor points to different objects. So right now I've added two anchor points. If if I go to the direct selection tool, which is the A on the keyboard, both of these anchor points are highlighted. So what that means is with the direct selection tool, I can now select both of these and move the anchor points. If I wanted to move just one anchor point, again, I can select off, then select one anchor point and just move that anchor point. Let's go back to the pen tool, the actual add anchor point tool. Hold it down, go back to delete anchor point. So now we have the delete anchor point tool. You can tell you're on the delete anchor point tool because there is a minus sign next to the pen tool. With the delete anchor point tool, you can delete anchor points. So just click once on an anchor point and they will disappear. Alright, the final tool we're going to cover with the pen tool is the convert direction point tool. What this does is it will take a sharp corner or edge and it will round it out. So you're going to select an anchor point, and just like making a curve, you're going to click and drag. The further you drag, the bigger the curve. So you can do that with any point that is a corner with the pen tool. You can flip it around, have it cross, things like that. Alright, so that is how to use the pen tool, add anchor point tool, delete anchor point tool, and convert anchor point.